what you asked is exactly what I'm going through. You said, what does a business do when they're tariffed on the equipment coming in from overseas? What they do is they pay the tariff.
Gentleman's
And
time
maybe they
is
get
up.
invited to Washington, D.C. to talk about maybe not necessarily throwing the baby out with the bathwater and calling everything about tariffs bad, but instead making a modification of tariff policy that
Gentleman's
applies to
time
this
is up.
specific thing.
Using the tool correctly.
Right.
Yep.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize Ms. Van Duyne from the great state of Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the witnesses for joining us today. I think today's hearing comes at a pivotal time, as small business manufacturers are leading a resurgence in American manufacturing, powered by new export opportunities, strengthened supply chains, major new investments, and new tools from the Small Business Administration that are helping firms to reshore and scale here in the United States. The Trump administration is taking meaningful steps to create an environment where this revival can flourish, and House Republicans have complemented these efforts, most notably through the One Big Beautiful Bill, which ensures small businesses can keep more of what they earn and reinvest in their operations and workforce. As part of that broader agenda, and in conjunction with today's hearing, I'll be introducing my Made in America Integrity Act. This bill strengthens penalties for companies that falsely claim that their goods or services are made in America to win federal contracts, because it's that kind of fraud that directly undermines the manufacturers who actually invest in American workers. This bill protects the integrity of that designation for those who have truly earned it. And of course, manufacturing grows dependent on tax certainty. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act made permanent key provisions like bonus depreciation, 20% small business deduction under Section 199A, and immediate R&D expensing. Manufacturers have been very clear that without these policies, we would see fewer jobs, lower wages, and slower growth. And I appreciate, Mr. Crane, you and your association's comments today. You and your association members well know that the tax provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill, particularly permanent bonus depreciation in Section 199A small business deduction and the R&D expensing, have been critical to manufacturers. So can you speak a little bit to what making the 20% pass-through deduction permanent, what that means for small and mid-sized manufacturers?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Congresswoman. Taking a step back, coming into this year, the 199A deduction was scheduled to expire, as well as so many other provisions from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Our analysis showed that had those provisions been allowed to expire, we would have lost 6 million American jobs, not a cost the economy could bear, and certainly not one that you all were willing to let it bear, which is what led to the passage of H.R. 1. When we think about the pass-through deduction, the 199A deduction specifically that you mentioned, 96% of manufacturers are organized as pass-throughs. So their effective tax rate—
What percentage?
96% of manufacturers are organized as pass-throughs. So their effective tax rate is dictated by whether or not the 20% pass-through deduction exists. Thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, it does exist. It's made permanent. So we have a lower effective tax rate on a permanent basis that allows manufacturers to keep more of what they've earned and invest those dollars in their communities across the country.
Thank you. Mr. Mosier, you were, I know that Congressman Mosier had asked you a question, basically what reshoring trends that you have seen, and in your experience, what motivates some companies to be able to reshore operations back to the U.S. Can you just expand on that?
You know, in our survey this year, we asked companies, we gave them 5 choices of policy actions that could drive them to bring back what percentage of what they now import. And they gave nice responses for lower taxes, less regulations, lower dollar, things like that. They gave the highest priority to skilled workforce, significantly higher than any of the other things that politicians typically talk about, and because they understand that if we're going to increase significantly in manufacturing, you need more people to do it, and you need better trained people, because we don't do as good a job of training hours as, say, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, China do, where they have good apprentice programs, excellent training. So the combination of more and better trained people is the #1 priority to make
I think that
happen.
should be a wake-up call, by the way, to our universities and our high schools. And this is exactly what we're trying to take on in Ways and Means, to make sure that if you're getting federal dollars, that we're actually training a workforce that can get jobs and be successful
Exactly.
and meet the needs of our growing American businesses. Mr. Voss, I appreciate you being here today, and I want to give you an opportunity to actually answer the question that you got stopped during the last questioning about the tariff concerns. I look at this as almost like a Rubik's Cube. It's tariffs, trade, and our taxes. And tariffs, trade, taxes, being able to be flexible, knowing what is working, when it's working, and being able to move on a dime as opposed to doubling down on failure is really a smart approach. What have you found as far as our tax policies and how that's being affected with our tariffs?
Well, there's many puts and takes as it relates to an income statement of a business. Taxes are one of the takes. Tariffs are one of the takes. The current tax and incentives made it a put for us. So these things, we're constantly balancing those things. My point is that, I'm not here as a political person. I'm here as a business person, and no one can debate the fact that manufacturers in the U.S. have been at a huge disadvantage for decades. It started to be corrected. We've been competing against foreign competitors since our existence. It's been very tough because of the unfairness associated with, how they're treated. So it's a breath of fresh air. We're gaining business as a result of the tariffs.
Bless you. Thank you.
Gentlelady's time is up.
The things that we buy from overseas, we have not paid a very small fraction of what the tariffs is. They have eaten most of them. Now, on the other hand, tariffs have been bad for me because
Gentlelady's time
brought
is
in
up.
equipment that I got tariffed on that probably shouldn't have.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I yield back.